Well, students, today I have with me Assistant Victorian Government Solicitor Alison O'Brien. Alison, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Rob.
Well, what exactly is a government solicitor? What does a government lawyer do?
A government lawyer does almost everything the government does when it needs legal services. So the Government Solicitor's Office in particular is like a law firm for the government. It's the government's in-house law firm. But that's everything from advising on the drafting of legislation to bringing prosecutions for summary offences.
Well, sounds like a pretty good gig. What are the best parts of it and what are the worst parts of it?
The best parts of it relate to, the interesting nature of the problems that you're dealing with. You can be prosecuting or a dodgy dentist or someone who purports to be a dentist, as has happened recently. And it's also the different ways you can be a lawyer in government. You can work on drafting legal advice, you can run litigation, but you can also be involved in trying to prevent something from happening again, whether by working on a royal commission or advising on fixing legislation. So it's very satisfying in that way.
And how do you get into the position that you've got into? Can you tell students of your career pathway from studying law, undergraduate course and the like, to now being Assistant Victorian Government Solicitor?
Yeah, sure. I did science and law, and at the end of it I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I was much more interested in government than the law, so I went into the Victorian Public Service graduate recruitment scheme just so I could get an idea of what I wanted to do. And I worked in Treasury and Finance for a year and on the graduate program, and then went into Treasury and Finance doing Freedom of Information. And then I decided I would quite like to be a lawyer because law has a lot of authority behind it, and people pay a lot more attention to a lawyer than they do to a policy advisor often. So I applied for the Government Solicitor's Office for their article scheme, and actually got a job prior to that working as the researcher to the Solicitor General. So about 15 years ago I entered the VGSO as an article clerk, and I've just done various jobs in the VGSO since then.
And the VGSO, I hope, is an equal opportunity employer. Many women working at the VGSO?
Oh, absolutely. A majority of the women working at the VGSO. A majority of the employees are women, and a majority of the professional employees are women. And in fact, probably a majority of the government solicitors, assistant government solicitors nowadays are women.
And if our students watching this, many of them not too sure which path they want to go down, whether they want to work in private practice or as a government lawyer, what tip would you give them if they really were keen on getting into a government position?
Well, I think any position in government is good experience. Certainly for me, the graduate recruitment scheme was a great entry into government. It gave me a broad amount of experience, and there's a lot of training through the scheme there. But there are a lot of legal and quasi-legal positions in the government. There are policy advisors and legal advisors, so there's real depth in the way you can practice. So if you can't get in the direct route, it's finding an indirect route. But even from my experience, going to the private sector and then going into government can be very good. I quite like employing the talented lawyers that come out of the private sector who don't want to be so overworked, want a little bit of work-life balance, or want to work more for the public good.
Well, it sounds like it's a fascinating job and pretty varied. Can you remember the most obscure piece of advice you've ever had to give to anyone?
There was the writ of supersedious, which related to the by-election for the member for Ivanhoe prior to election before last. Yes. He had resigned in time to call a by-election, which would have, and the seat for that by-election would never have been filled because the general election was just about to occur. So it was looking into the problem of, did this by-election have to occur? And going back and researching the precedents, and in fact back to 1832 in England.
That's before I was around, Alison.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the law, it's forever. And to find a way to solve that problem, which was to revoke the by-election, and there was a particular ancient writ, the writ of supersedious, by which you could revoke a by-election. So, it's that continuity and change that the law brings up.
And if there was one or two bits of advice that you would give to our students now who are, first, second, third year law students, not sure what they want to do, what would that bit of advice be?
Well, just get experience, get your foot in a door, because you never actually know what you like until you start doing it. I was quite cynical about the law and its effectiveness until I started doing it, and I think the practice of the law is much more invigorating often than the theoretical subjects of the law. Doing a real case is a great way of learning the law in a disciplined way. So I guess having a go, putting yourself out there and trying, and it's amazing the paths that people can follow through their legal career.
Well, there you go, students. Some great advice there. Don't be put off by the theory of the law. Get your foot in the door, because the practical aspects of the law can be very exciting, and Alison is a living example of just that. Thanks for joining us.